And I just cannot believe still. Really, the Angels and the Dodgers, the two LA teams, with the payrolls they have, with the players they have guys who can play ball. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've seen Hamilton be an MVP. We've seen Pujols be an MVP. We saw what Trout did last year. We've seen what Jared Weaver can do, and I know he got hurt, but still. We've seen what these teams can do with the talent they have. Trumbo, also another great young 23-year-old, 24-year-old hitter. You look at the Dodgers. You got Hanley Ramirez. And you got all sorts of stuff. Matt Kemp and, Adrian Gonzalez and, all the pitchers they have. I mean, their pitching staff is stacked, you would think. With Kershaw and then Billingsley, I know, is on the DL right now. Beckett's on the DL. Who's the other one I'm thinking of? Greinke, Ted Lilly. And, you look at this team and you're like, wow, how can you guys not figure this out?
Bad?
We've seen you be so much better on worse teams. We've seen you be better with worse talent around you and lift them. How can you not help lift this team out of the gutter?
They're struggling.
I'm shocked by both of those clubs.
You know what I like to call that? I like to call that a Tony Romo syndrome, mainly for the fact that, to me, I think if you put Romo on a less marketable team, smaller market, less attention, he would make people look a lot better. He would probably play a lot better. Yet you look at these guys, and now, do you think it's fair that they might throw the manager under the bus? I mean, like we say, players get the credit for winning, managers get the credit for losing for the most part. Is it fair to throw Mattingly under the bus?
Yeah, Mattingly and Socha are both thrown under the bus right now. And they should be, rightfully so, with the payrolls they have, with the personnel they have. Like I said, it's not even the payrolls. It's the fact that we've seen these guys play baseball before. They're not just taking a shot on a whim on a rookie out of the draft like sometimes you do in the NFL, where you pay a guy a couple $1 million and then you're hoping he turns into something. No, you've watched these guys perform. You know what they're capable of.
You've seen the numbers they've put up.
You've seen what they've put up. And for a few of these guys, they've put up big numbers for years.
Well, on the Angels, you got 2x MVP winners.
Yeah. But you look at Adrian Gonzalez. He used to tear it up with the Padres for a few years. He got no recognition because he played with the Padres, but he used to be really good. And he went to Boston. He wasn't bad when he played in Boston. I know towards the end of his stint there he was, but we've seen these guys, and I hate to be a broken record, but we've seen them perform. We know what they're capable of. And when you're not getting the production out of them and the team isn't winning,
the
manager's got to take the blame. He does, because you're not going to fire all these guys off of your payroll. You're not going to fire the players. You're not getting rid of the players. So what you do is you fire the manager, you shake up the clubhouse. Now, both of these guys also got the vote of confidence.
Which is the last thing you want to get.
Because the vote of confidence is usually that last step as they're saying, oh, yeah. They're opening the door as they're saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trust you.
You know, it's priceless, too, that you bring that up, because I've I never understood why a general manager would even waste their time with that. Everybody in the media, everybody in the team organization knows what it means. Everybody knows that it's coming. It's just a question of when. And now, do you personally feel like when a manager gets fired in other sports, like, to me, I look at football, for example. I'll even pull from personal experience. When Dallas fired Wade Phillips, the final game Wade Phillips coached was a Sunday or Monday night game against Green Bay, and Green Bay shellacked. Like, Green Bay could have brought their practice squad out and still beat Dallas by 3 touchdowns. Like, Dallas had no interest in playing. They didn't care. It is what it is. Dallas fires Wade Phillips. They let Jason Garrett take over for the remainder of the year. Obviously, he's still head coach, but for that year. They go 5-3 for the remainder of the year. Finish 8-8 on the year. Since then, team is still a 500 team. How much impact do you really think firing a coach in the season really has on the performance of the players on the field? Because me personally, as a fan, you notice something for first half of the game, that first game with the new coach. You notice something a little bit different. And then you just realize that most of these guys still resort back into the stupid habits and whatever they formed over the year already. Because you're talking 25% into the year. These guys are into their swing. They're into what their routines and how they get ready for each game and practices and travel and so on and so forth. They're into that swing. So how much effect does getting rid of a manager really have in the game of baseball?
It has an effect because it shakes things up. Now, if a team's bad, like as bad as the Dodgers and the Angels have been, I don't think necessarily just bringing in another manager automatically makes them a better team. But it changes things up. Another guy comes in, he's got different thoughts, he does different things, calls things differently. Maybe he's a little more aggressive. I look at it, and I think the manager can have a little bit of an impact. But I don't think he has a huge impact. And again, it also depends on who you bring in to replace him. If you just bring in an interim coach, you just promote from within, just say, listen, you manage the team for the rest of the year, and then we'll work out who's going to manage next year. Or if you fire somebody and then bring in somebody who has managerial experience. Say you fire Mattingly and you bring in, throwing it out there, LaRussa.
Okay.
Not really an option because LaRussa's retired, and I'm pretty sure he's happy retired, but I'm just throwing you a name out there.
Yeah.
Say the Dodgers, say, listen, we got a little bit more money we can spend. We want to bring in a guy who's proven what he can do with a ball club. Let's bring in LaRussa. I think if LaRussa comes in, he'd be a guy who can impact a club maybe for the length of a season, not just for a few games. And he's a guy that he could bring his philosophies, he could bring his coaching technique, he could bring his, philosophy on everything from running the bases to pitching. It all could change from what Mattingly was doing.
Yeah. Now, would you also credit some of that to the players trying to perhaps impress the new manager?
No, I would just think that maybe if they see a guy like LaRussa come in, and they know he's won World Series, they know he's coached some greats like Pujols, things of that nature. You bring him in, he's a guy who people respect. And they respect him because they go, wait a second, he's not just some Joe Schmo they're bringing in off the street that doesn't know what he's doing. This guy has won the biggest games. He's been to the top of the mountain. He's been around the game of baseball for many years. All right, maybe I'll listen to this guy. Well, right now, they might be tuning Mattingly out and tuning, Socha out. Maybe it's that matter of you got to bring in somebody who they respect.
Okay.
And that can have an impact. Like I said, just bringing in, say, promoting the batting coach up to manager and just saying finish out the season, I don't think that has the same impact.
And I can see why you say that, because to me, that's almost like the general manager saying, you know what, I know this year's pretty much over. Don't want to deal with going out and doing the hiring process. Let's just bring you up, and we'll worry about it when the year's said and done.
Just take your Cowboys, like you said a minute ago. They fire Garrett. And they just say, all right, well, instead of going out and trying to look for a coach, say maybe like, trying to entice Gruden or somebody else to come in and coach, they just say, all right, well, Bill Callahan, you're going to be the interim head coach for now, and we'll worry about things later. I don't think that has an impact on the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys would just be like, all right, Bill Callahan.
We're not. But when the year's over, I still got my contract. You probably don't.
Yeah, exactly. And the players don't respect that.
Well, that's
where
why
if they bring in a guy like
Gruden,
Gruden, I think people might respect him a little more because of where he's been, what he's done, and I think it goes that way for baseball. Really, any sport. It's like the Lakers. The Lakers this year, I think, would have been a completely different team had Phil Jackson coached the team instead of Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni was kind of a stopgap guy between Brown and whoever they're going to get next.
Which is actually another conversation we can have today as well, but we can get to that later.
But I'm
I
saying
agree with
that has a bigger impact. You could bring in D'Antoni and guys like, D'Antoni, what's he won? He hasn't won anything. What does he know? He doesn't. Yeah. We're not gonna.
We're just
not
gonna
listen to him.
we're gonna call him coach, but we're gonna listen to Kobe.
Yeah. Where you bring in Phil Jackson, Kobe respects him. Dwight Howard everybody respects Phil Jackson for his 11 championships and all he's done.
He goes like this, and then he's like, with the 11s is right there.
You know what I mean? But people respect him more. So I feel like if you made that managerial change in baseball, it really depends on who you bring in next, is whether or not it will have a true impact on your ball club for this year.
Yeah, because I bring that up because in my opinion, no matter what sport it is, players for the most part, if you just bring in some interim guy that the team and the players all pretty much know this guy ain't gonna be here for training camp next year. In my opinion, most of them will say to themselves when asked to do something that they don't want to do, well, you know what? My contract's guaranteed to me. I'll be here next year. You most likely won't. So, yeah, I'm good. I don't feel like dealing. Or I'm going to go half speed. Or I'm going to this. Or I'm going to go that. And I could picture baseball being exactly the same because of the fact that most of their contracts, if not all of them, are pretty much guaranteed. So, for them, it's like, unless you're a legit man, you are the guy that is going to be my boss pretty much for this year. And I know for damn sure you are going into next year. I really don't have too much to worry about you with,